How y'all doing? I'm the Watchman, and this series, Joshua Wiley, for those who don't know. But anyway, this series right here, this is the first part. It's the second, but you could say it's the first part in the Noah series. Now the first thing on Noah I did, I don't even call it the first part, because all I was doing was breaking down this movie about Noah that they got coming out. And I don't think it was a coincidence that a good friend of mine named CJ, he asked me to do this series on Noah. And I take that as the Lord. Whenever I get requests from y'all, I honestly take that as the Lord asking me or directing me and guiding my steps. Is Jesus said, as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be when the coming of the Son of Man. This really, I used to think it was just dealing with the flood, and it is, but it doesn't end with the flood, and it doesn't begin with the flood. The story of Noah is so thick and so packed with food and with lessons for us. See, when Jesus said, as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be when the coming of the Son of Man be, that means Jesus is warning us that this is going to be our time, the last days and times that we're living in. As it was in the days of Noah, Noah's day mirror matches our day. There's more than just this flood. So what I wanted to do is I really want to pick apart this story. Well, I don't want to pick apart, but I want to allow God to pick apart this story and see what's there. See what's there for us. Let's get right into it. Turn in your Bibles. Let's go to Genesis 6. Genesis chapter 6. And I'm going to start at verse 1. And it says, and it came to pass, when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose. I want to stop right there, because there are many YouTube videos. There are many people who believe right here. I know I did when years ago. I thought that when it said the sons of God, that it was speaking of the angels in this particular part. Now, sometimes when it says the sons of God in the word, the word is referring to angels. But right here, God is referring to the bloodline of Seth. The bloodline of Seth. This is very key and very important. And when it says, and saw the daughters of men, the bloodline of men, the daughters of men came from the bloodline of Cain. Now, I really want you to think. Now, before I get into the two bloodlines, the bloodline of Seth, which was a holy bloodline, still paying homage to God, and then you had the bloodline of Cain, which was represented by the son of men. So you had the sons of God and the sons of men, one representing the holy, the other representing the unholy, one representing God's kingdom, the other representing the world, as you could say. So we could use it in our day and time. We could say one representing the church and one representing the world. But anyway, let's go back to this theory that a lot of people had, that I even once had, and that's the theory that when it says the sons of God saw daughters of men, and a lot of people believe that this is talking about angels right here. Beloved, first off, now let's put our thinking caps on. This really takes our thinking caps and the Bible. Angels, they were a created being as mankind, but the difference was angels cannot procreate. Angels have no gender, neither male nor female. And that is why Jesus, because somebody said, hold on, Josh, can't use the Bible. Let's go. When Jesus was talking about, when it was asked about marriage in heaven, he said we will be as the angels. We will be as the angels. There will be no unions as far as that goes. No sexual unions and bonds is what Jesus was really getting to, is that there will be no sexual unions and bonds in heaven. We will be as the angels. Those things will be done away with. That way we won't have to worry about divorce and all that stuff in heaven, and affairs and things of that nature. This is why the devil wants to corrupt marriage and sex so much, because he cannot procreate. And he sees the beauty. There is a beauty in the sacredness with us being able to have a child that is just like us, that has our DNA from the mother and the father, and we have a chance to mold this young mind. There is a beauty and a holiness in that the devil wants us to lose sight of. Why? Because he's looking from the outside, because he can't do it. So he sees the blessing of it even more than we see. He can't procreate. They have no gender. They have no gender. So of course he wants to warp this in our thoughts. But anyway, back to the story. Lord just told me back to the story. Beloved, this is why I say you need your thinking caps. If the angels could sleep with women and vice versa, because a lot of times we just think it was male angels sleeping with women, but if they could have sex and procreate, then I'm pretty sure there would be female angels or demons sleeping with men. Beloved, to have a human child, the X and Y chromosomes, have to be on a certain level, and so to say that angels can have kids with humans is to say that angels have the same DNA helix and patterns that we have, and it's compatible. But still, that's not enough proof. Let's keep our thinking caps on right here. If the devil and his angels could sleep with women and have children, beloved, I kid you not, there would be an army of demonic little kids who are now grown up as adults or however, but there would be an army of Satan's children running around that we'd have to fight against. I kid you not. If angels, now think about it, if the devil and his angels could procreate and have kids, why would he just have one or two somewhere off in the woods or something? Why wouldn't we see children? Why wouldn't the devil just build an army of demonic children to help with his cause? Why wouldn't we see so many, hundreds of... Somebody might say, oh, Josh, of course they're not going to expose themselves. There are millions of devil's children. I like to see, I always see videos about reptilians and things of that nature. But beloved, honestly, put on your thinking cap. If the devil and angels could sleep with humans and have children, we would be facing innumerable, too big of a word, we would be facing an endless amount of demonic little kids and adults, children who grown up with adults, and there would be records of them throughout the Bible of the devil's children. I mean, not just someone possessed. I'm talking about the devil's children, like that's little Satan number 4, nicknamed Beelzebub. That's little B. We would have, or all the other demons would be having kids. There would be an army of satanic, demonic little kids running around the world, and there would be a record of them somewhere in here of so many demonic kids. Not someone being possessed of a demon, but someone who is half demon, half human. And the reason why the devil would have us think that we're dealing with this part, because if we think that, it throws off the whole meaning of what's right here. It throws off the whole meaning of what's right here. I want you to see something. Now remember I said the sons of God is the bloodline of Enoch, and the sons of men is the bloodline of Cain. Is the bloodline of Cain. You have the holy and the unholy. Today's terms, you have the church, what's supposed to be the church, and the world. But what does God say start happening? They start mixing. I want you to check out something. Let's remember we're in Genesis chapter 6. We're in verse 2, but let's read verse 3. When the holy and the unholy started mixing, when the sons of God started mixing with the daughters of men, what happened? Look immediately what happened. And the Lord said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh. Immediately, God is saying, I cannot dwell with you. Immediately, this causes separation between man and God. This is so deep, beloved, and this is why we have to have a full, clear understanding of who the sons of God is and who the daughters of men are. Beloved, he says, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh. Beloved, let's look at it, put this in today's terms. Like I said, the sons of God is represented by the church. The daughters of men is the world. Or daughters, a lot of times in prophecy. We're going to take a prophetic look at this. And Jesus was the one who wants us to. Remember, because he said, as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be when the coming of man, when the coming of the Son of Man be. The last days. The last days. Isn't Jesus often called the Son of Man? Because he came in a sinful flesh. He came in sinful flesh. He came in sinful flesh as Cain's bloodline, just so he could conquer sin. He became sin so he could conquer sin. But anyway, let's look at this prophetically, where it says, so the sons of God is the church. The daughters of men are the beliefs in the world. Certain beliefs in the world. Certain doctrines in the world. Certain principles that float around in the world. So when there's a mixing of the church, when the church starts committing adultery with these beliefs that belong to men, with these beliefs that belong to the unholy, when the church starts allowing all manner of music in the sanctuary, when the church starts allowing anything to be shown in the movies in the sanctuary, when the church starts allowing homosexual preachers in God's house, ordaining gay bishops, when the church starts allowing women's ordination, women priests, to officiate in the sanctuary, which there is not a record of one in all of the Bible. Remember, there are two sides, the sons of God and the daughters of men. Beloved, in God's church, in God's sanctuary, there is not one record of a woman being ordained. But with the sons of men, with the world in the Bible, in the pagan, which is another word for occult, there were priestesses of Diana who were also prostitutes. I believe it was Paul who came across them. There were, let me say it again, there were priestesses, women priestesses in the occult world, and they were prostitutes at the same time. But we have adopted this into the church. And I'm talking about all denominations. We have adopted this into the church. Could it be that's what Jesus, when Jesus said, as it was in the days of Noah, could this be one of the things that when there's a mixing, when we start making unions with the world, when the sons of God, when the church, remember the sons of God is represented by the church, when the holy bloodline, when the holy men and women of God start mixing with the daughters of men, with the let's say with the beliefs of the world, when the holy men and women of God start mixing with the beliefs of the world, what happens? There comes a separation. God says, my spirit shall not always strive with man. Immediately, there's a separation. When these two things start happening. When these two things start happening. Why? Because the fruit it produces is not holy fruit unto God. The fruit, we look at the sons of God and the daughters of men. Another, and again I stress, another word for daughter or woman in prophecy is doctrine. So let's look at it. When the sons of God, when the holy men and women of God start accepting and making unions with beliefs and doctrines of the world, children are born that are children, let's say children are born that are not on God's side. Unholy fruit is conceived. Let's see what it says. Now let's read verse 4. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them. The same became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown. So now we see in the picture that this unholy union between the church and the world, between the sons of God and the daughters of men, between holy men and women and the beliefs and doctrines of the world, when this union is formed, when this marriage has taken place, unholy fruit is grown. Giants, as it was, are now produced in the earth. This produces giants in the earth. Beloved, this is so deep. This is so deep. That word, let's get into giant, where it says, verse 4, there were giants in the earth in those days. And also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children unto them, the same became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown. These issues, you have gigantic issues. Now, another word for giant can be, you have these monster issues that are produced. But even deeper than that, I want you to ask this question. It says, the God is so specific on how he does things. He says, giants are in the earth now and are produced from this union, this unholy union. Beloved, let's look at this word, giant, and let's also look at it. Let's put our spiritual eyes on, our thinking caps. Could this be God is also saying, when he says giants, men of influence, great influence, men of stature? That's why he expounds later on and says, after he says there were giants in the earth, towards the end of verse 4, he says, and they bare children to them, the same became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown. Beloved, these giants were also reputations. We have, once this unholy union is born, great men of reputation is produced. Let me say it different. Let me say it different. Let me say this different. Beloved, there were no giants in the earth other than God before this time. You get where I'm getting at. God was the only giant. Now we see on the scene entities that are competing for mankind's affection, mankind's eyes. This is the introduction of the first celebrities on the earth, if I can put it that way. The first celebrities, the first giants, the first men, like it says, mighty men who walk the earth, men of renown. The word renown means widespread acclaim, widespread fame, or honor. This is the introduction of the first celebrities. So we had these entities are now on the scene. Remember, before this, God was the only giant. How can I call another man a giant when God, no man is bigger than God? But see, now we have these big reputations, these men who are known, just like Nimrod, who comes along the scene in Genesis 10, where God says he becomes a mighty one in the earth, and he starts to receive worship as the sun god. But Nimrod starts to receive worship, and he establishes the first kingdom opposite of God's kingdom, which is Babel, which means confusion. But anyway, we see from this unholy union, celebrities are produced, or better yet, things and people are produced that will take your eyes off of the true giant, which is God. I really want you to get this point, because remember, this is Jesus said this story is a lesson for us today. How many celebrities do we have? And beloved, please don't sit there crass, or please don't sit there like, there might be celebrities in the world, but I'm not influenced by them. Me growing up as a child, born to a single mom, and all of the drama I went through, no family at times and things of that nature. I looked up to so many different celebrities, and I modeled my life after them. The way I dress, the way I talk, our society models itself after these celebrities. That's why they have celebrities always in commercials and putting their names with this and selling this and doing this. Why? Just for the simple fact that they endorsing it. We'll go out and buy it. We'll do it. I want you to see here that Jesus is saying, when we have these unholy unions taking place, not only do we have giant problems that come about, but we also have these huge reputations and people of renown. We have celebrities that are produced. We have let me say it like I said it earlier. When we have these unholy unions, these giant obstacles are now created that take our mind and our eyes off of God. God should have been the only one receiving fame and honor worldwide, not men. This is the introduction of the first celebrities. So could it be that Jesus is saying that in our last days and times, celebrities will be a problem? The so-called stars will be a problem. The American idols, the idols, will be a problem. Is it a coincidence that when you look at the Ten Commandments, let's go there, Exodus chapter 20, when we look at the Ten Commandments, that the first commandment is, I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. The first commandment is, we can serve no one but God. Beloved, could it be, this is just hitting me, that our worship, our relationship to God starts off with having nothing and no one no giant obstacles, no giant things in our lives, no giant influences, no giant people, no in our lives that take our worship? Could it be our relationship towards God, Him not leaving us, is founded upon Him being the only giant in our life? Ooh, let me say that again. Could it be that our relationship towards God is founded upon God being the only giant in our life? Because as we see, when these giants come about, when these giants are produced from this unholy union, and when I say unholy union, let me get into detail with that again. I'm talking about, say I'm I'm supposed to be, I'm nothing but a sinner, y'all. True indeed. This is just an example. Say I'm a holy and righteous man, but I'm watching porn, which I used to do all the time. Bad issues and problems, but porn has a grip hold in my life. It's a giant in my life. Lusting, of course, that's fruit from the porn, has that grip hold in my life. Lying. Oh, I just think they're little lies. No, it's a giant. Nothing is little when it comes to sin. I lie all the time, but I'm thinking, oh, just because it's over little things, that has a grip hold in my life. I have all these giants in my life. I'm critical. I'm always talking about people in my mind, and I'm critical of them. I never tell anybody nothing good they do. I'm always looking for the bad in people. That's a giant in my life. I'm not saying I do that, but I'm saying, give me an example of how I'm supposed to be a son of God. I'm supposed to be holy. I'm supposed to be righteous, but I have these giants in my life. And why are these giants in my life? Because they are produced from me having an unholy union with something in my life. I could just be addicted to porn, and from that unholy union, all these other things are produced. Boop, 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 boop. A critical eye, a lying tongue, a lustful eye, an ungrateful spirit, being impatient, being depressed. All of this can come from just one union, one unholy union with something that I shouldn't be holding on to, or someone I shouldn't be holding on to. Now let's look at this. Jesus said, as it was in this day, so shall it be now. I gotta stress it again. Could it be God is saying He should be the only giant in our life? He should be the only one that's renowned. He should be the only one that's renowned. Look at today's church. Now let's flip it to today as I get to the end of this first part. Let's flip it to today. Remember I said the sons of God represent the church. The daughters of men represent the world. We have this unholy union in the church. Okay, say we let the dress code. Let's get into the dress code, because it's a problem. I don't care what people say. I get tired of going to church, having to look up, look down, or constantly asking for forgiveness, because I'm trying to escape and just focus on God, but I see mini skirts and tight this and tight that and showing this, and I'm like, oh, please. So because of this, and men aren't exempt to wearing the tight slacks, where it looked like back in the 60s where they used to wear the tight jeans and the women can see everything bulging, so I'm sitting there, we're spending too much money on our clothes and really hesitating on giving tithe, but we don't care about buying a $200 suit, but we hesitate on giving tithes and offering. We got this unholy union with dress code in the church, all this dressing in the church, or we got this big band in the church and everybody act like we rocking out in God's sanctuary, but in this real sanctuary in heaven, the angel is so holy in there that the angels keep their wings over their faces. The seraphims and cherubim, they don't even lift their heads. That's how holy it is. But we're in the sanctuary. Praise the Lord. One time I was in the church and he was like, a dude came out, started rapping, and he, go Jesus, go Jesus, go in the saint. So because of this unholy union, these things we're allowing in the church, we have celebrity preachers now. Celebrity preachers. who have all this fame and renown, and they don't even have to be celebrities and known. It's in your local church. People cannot tell me you don't put your pastor on a pedestal. That hurts me more than anything. We're the ones damaging our pastors and our elders by lifting these sinful men who are sinful just like you and I. They are no special just because they are an elder or a pastor, but we lift them up on some kind of pedestal like they are or God themselves, himself, and we say, no, I really don't. Check yourself. I guarantee 90% of Christians do this. 90% of Christians put their elders and their pastor on an extra high pedestal and take everything they say as, even though it can be dead wrong. The pastor can say, yeah, Jesus and Judas was cousins, and Judas really didn't betray Jesus. And we'll be like, well, for real? He maybe he didn't. Or we'll know it's a dead truth and make excuse for him. Well, that's my pastor and I love him. I don't second guess. Play the music. Come on, praise team. Where's the praise team? We're not second guessing these men, and we're getting fed lies. They're not teaching none of the word anymore. There is no teaching about Judgment Day. There is no teaching about God's law. There is no teaching about sanctity in the sanctuary. Most of our elders and bishops are coming out of the closet homosexual now, sleeping with women and men in the church and the members. Beloved, these gigantic problems are arising. These issues are coming because of unholy unions with the world. It's getting to the point where people are feeling like it's bad to say anything. You get criticized if you just say, "Thus saith the Lord." I told somebody, well, I got homosexual friends. Like, honestly, like, I got a lot of homosexual friends. But you know what? They know not to ask me, Josh, do you think it's... They know what Josh gonna say. And they know I love them to death, like spitting concrete. I love them. I love them with every breath in me. But because I love you does not mean I'm gonna close my eyes to sin and not say what's right and wrong. I don't do it to myself. I'm honest with myself. If I'm doing something I'm not supposed to do, I'm not gonna be blind and sugarcoat it to myself. I know this is wrong. I know I need to get rid of it. I know I need to take it out. But I guess that's the problem also, is many of us are blind to ourselves and what's going on in our own lives. We're blind to the unholy unions we have in our own lives that are creating giants in our lives when God should be the only giant walking the earth. How are we going? That tripped me out, and I can't help but look at the word. I love the Holy Spirit when he talks, because when I read that, I said, Father, how can we even say that a man is a giant when you are the giant? Could this be, beloved? Why David slew all the giants. All of them ended with David and his mighty men. David and his mighty men slew all the giants in the earth. Slew all of them, and there were no more left. There should be only one giant in your life, and that's God. But we see these things arise, giant problems, giant issues, when we have an unholy union somewhere in our lives, in our characters. We're holding on to something. Don't think just because you lie on, that's just a little white. No, that's a giant in your life. Or if you lust. I heard a man say the other day, he's married. Oh, it's all right. I can check out the menu long as I don't order. That's a giant lie. But lusting is a giant monster in your life. It's an unholy union that's gonna produce wicked fruit, that's gonna produce other giants. I guarantee, and too many men say that, and I know it's hard. I deal with it every day at work, in my personal. That's how I know it. I'm not speaking from something I don't wrestle with myself. That's how I know it's hard. You can't just look, because like Jesus says, once you already thought about it, you're just as guilty as if you did it. Because if the situation paints itself to where you can do it and get away with it, You would, especially if you keep lingering on to it, lingering on to it. Notice, I tell my friends all the time, one way I started defeating it is instead of lusting, it's natural for us to look at someone and be like, oh, that's a beautiful person. She's attractive. He's attractive. That's beautiful. She's fine. She's beautiful. But it should stop right there. She's beautiful. That's it. But when you say she's beautiful, man, if I had it, man, I'd take her back. I'd do this and that. Boy, I tell you, that's where the sin comes in. That's why looking can be a giant in your life. That's why looking can be a giant in your life. But anyway, beloved, I wanted to start. That's the first part, because as we see, this is the first issue that God is bringing up about the story of Noah. This was the first issue, that the mixing, the unholy unions that took place caused giants to roam the earth, caused giants in your life, caused us to worship other men, other things, men of renown. That means these men were getting worshipped. They were idols. They became idols. That show American Idol was named that for a reason. The devil played this tactic back then, and he's doing it again today. And Jesus is saying that the problems of our world today start off with us mixing with the world, thinking it's okay. And I'm talking about in our personal lives and in our church. In our personal lives and in our church. This mixing in our character, this holding on to certain things, thinking, oh, it's just a little sin, when it's really a giant. When it's really a giant in your life. Let God be the only giant in your life. He'll stomp out any of these little mites that may pop their little head up. Trust me. If God is the giant in your life, all this other stuff you won't fear, you won't doubt in no kind of way. Why? Because your eyes can only see one giant. Everything else is an ant compared to God. What's the giant in your life? What's the giant in your life? What are you mixing with? Beloved, I had to look at myself and ask myself this question. Look at yourself with honest eyes. When I say the truth loves investigation, beloved, always fall in love with investigating your own character. Asking God to reveal these things, and He will. And you're going to see some ugly stuff, but it will turn out to be a blessing. I remember my friend Tracy Hall, my good friend Tracy Hall, she said, Josh, as I start getting closer to Jesus, I'm seeing all of this stuff that I'm doing so clearly. And it's just like, it's getting me down. It was getting her down at first. And I said, Tracy, don't look at it as a way like, because you're seeing how ugly you are in the inside because of your sins. Because me too, the closer we get to Jesus, the uglier we're going to see. But don't miss it. That means you're getting closer to Jesus. Anybody and anything that gets closer to Jesus is going to appear ugly because He's pure holiness and pure love. And the blessing is, you can't get rid of something if you don't see it's there. God reveals those ugly things in our character and in our natures so we can get rid of it, so we can be found worthy. Too many times I see people who are blind to how ugly they really are. And that's scary, beloved. Think about those people when they say, Lord, Lord, these were Christians. Because they say, didn't we cast out demons in your name? Didn't we prophesy in your name? These were Christians, yet and still, they did not know how ugly they really were. So, beloved, as you get closer to Christ, as you get closer to Jesus, and you start to see all these faults in your character and faults in your flaws in your life, don't get downhearted and downtrodden. Take joy, as Tracy started to do. Take joy that you are getting closer to God, that you can actually get these things out of your life now because you see them. God is opening up your eyes and you're no longer blind. That is a blessing. So beloved, look at yourself with honest eyes and ask yourself, what unholy unions do I have in my life? From people, places, things, whatever. And what giants are there in my life? Ask yourself these things. Y'all take care.